We are back with another Epic Collection review. I'm trying to read one Epic Collection a week, but gosh, these books are so big, it is kind of hard. This is the Thunderbolts, which came right after Onslaught. So if you remember Onslaught from the 90s, all the superheroes disappeared. They're gone. The Avengers are gone. The Fantastic Four are gone. And everybody's really sad in the Marvel Universe and missing those sorts of things. So the Thunderbolts show up and take the place, but there's a twist. So here it is. This is volume 1, and it contains more than just the Thunderbolts. You get number 1 through 12, annual number 97. Thunderbolts Distant Rumblings -1. They had a -1 event in Marvel during that time where they were trying to give everybody a jumping on point, and it didn't quite work. Incredible Hulk 449, which was actually their first appearance. Spider-Man Team Up 7, Heroes for Hire 7, and material from Tales of the Marvel Universe number 1. Whew, that's a lot. So Kurt Busiek and Mark Bagley did the majority of this book here. And that's the deal. I actually spilled water on it, guys. So you see the top here is all messed up. I'm going to have to get a new copy of this because I've got a nice complete Epic Collection library. And I want this in good shape. I loved this when I was growing up, the Thunderbolts. I think it actually came on much later than this because I actually don't remember these issues. But it starts off, and of course, there's this new team, and there's all these characters. Here's Citizen V, and they introduce all the characters here. Mach 1, and gosh, all the characters are hard to remember their names because they have separate names, which is going to be the big reveal here. So you get their whole deal: Songbird, Mach 1, Techno, Powerhouse, and Meteorite. But who are they really? It's Baron Zemo. It's the Fixer. It's the Beetle. It's Screamin' Mimi. It is I forget his name, and then Moonstone. And a lot of these characters are like B-list villains that you see from the back in the day, and that's the twist here. Now they fight the Wrecking Crew in the first one, and actually Kurt Busiek for the first 4 or 5 issues just runs them through a gambit of normal villains in the Marvel Universe. But when they reveal at the end of the first issue who they actually are, and you're like, oh, that's an interesting twist. And what's going to happen there? Now, this was actually their first appearance. It came out first, but they introduced that second. And so Peter David had one where they actually fought the Hulk for a little bit. And this got them kind of plugged into the Marvel Universe here. They have another Marvel Universe issue, and then we get back into the main story. Now, as it goes through here, there's this little girl who's been captured, and she had problems being stuck because with the whole Onslaught thing, and she eventually joins the team as Jolt. So she's the only one who's not a villain through this, and she's a new character. There's the Marvel Team Up one with Spider-Man. A lot of fun through this here, and I hope they collect these Heroes for Hires and Marvel Team Up from the 90s here, which really don't get a lot of attention, but they're good books. And then it gets back to the Thunderbolts sort of deal. So Mark Bagley's art, to me, talking to the art, and he does the entire 12-issue series. Of course, there's other artists on the tie-ins and all that. It's like the definitive Marvel art for me. He was on Amazing Spider-Man growing up for me, and you can just see he's got a very distinctive style. He's mostly known for Ultimate Spider-Man. When he was on Amazing Spider-Man, I got to say his style was closer to Marvel House style, and he's starting to develop with Thunderbolts here towards very definitive Mark Bagley. But I just think his figures are really nice. He's got good expressions. It's on the cartoony side, but in a fun way, and I love it. I think it's fantastic. So Black Widow shows up here. Looks beautiful, of course, and she fights on their side. She's one of the only Avengers still alive. But she starts to suspect something's kind of weird. And we go through, and they have different ones where they fight different villains. They go into their backstories a little bit. The -1 issue goes in their backstory. So does the annual, and both of those are kind of hard to get through, to be honest. Those were not nearly as fun as the main series whatsoever. And they had different artists and writing teams, of course. So here it goes through. And let's get back to our Mark Bagley art here. Jolt eventually joins the team, and they try to hide their identities from her. And then they eventually fight these elementals. And the team has a little bit of a split because they're villains at the end of the day. So they both want to control the teams during that elemental battle. Where they have to fight against villains that are representing the 109 elements, and they almost get captured. Techno at that point, who's the Fixer, actually gets killed, but his body gets morphed into a robot, and he joins and merges with a computer, which is kind of cool. And as it goes along, eventually Black Widow kind of discovers what happens with this team, and she's like, I know something's wrong here, and I'm going to come after you. And then eventually Hero's Return happens with the heroes coming back. But Baron Zemo's like throws his plan into place at this point, and he ends up mind controlling all of the Avengers from a space station like a good villain does. And so the Thunderbolts actually have to turn on Baron Zemo as heroes and rescue the Avengers from Baron Zemo, who's taking over the world at this point for the last 3 issues. So the last 3 issues end up being this big sweeping epic event where the Thunderbolts are going against Baron Zemo and Techno, and they end up being a team together. Now, the Avengers eventually lose their mind control, but they realize that the Thunderbolts have been heroic, but they ask the Thunderbolts to willingly turn themselves over, and then the Thunderbolts disappear magically at the very end of it. Now, this is supposed to be a 12-issue kind of maxi series at the beginning of this, and it ends up saying kind of to be continued. But this was really fun. Great superhero stuff. You do kind of have to know what's going on in the Marvel Universe with the Avengers disappearing and all that for why this makes sense. And it helps if you kind of know who these villains are, but if you don't, it's actually not as bad as a lot of other comics that have a lot of tie-in stuff. So when the Avengers come back, it's a lot of fun. And of course, the epic battle at the end makes it all pay off. So great formatted 12-issue series here. The tie-in stuff is a little rough I like the Incredible Hulk one quite a bit, but I'd say that the annual and the -1 issues are very much skippable. And that is that. So this is good stuff here. This is some of my favorite Marvel comics. I call it a 9 out of 10, and I can't wait for volume 2. Leave a comment down below with what you think about this. Hit that like and subscribe button. We'll be back soon.